So Scott, without anything else, Jim, I'm sorry. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I don't mind having name confusion, but I'm happy to be here. I would like this to try and be a conversation, not necessarily a lecture. So I hope my simple comments are review for everyone. If you have questions, please list them in the chat room, and I will respond to them as they appear. So my name is Jim Cavan. I'm the founder and CEO of Backpack Health. Uh, Backpack is uh, a medical technology app that allows people to put all their information in one place and make it very shareable and very usable. So the little tidbits about how to manage that moment after a diagnosis is something that we deal with every day for our clients. We are active right now in 62 countries around the world. We speak 5 languages, and we get drawn into all kinds of rare and unique healthcare situations because of that. We are very proud of our relationship in the small disease community. So, who am I? I've led several different research companies. I've been on the leadership team of 2 different medical schools. I worked my way through college and graduate school as a firefighter paramedic, and I served our country as a flight paramedic. My family has been touched. In fact, this company, Backpack Health, was inspired by a family member who has a rare disease that I saw my family dealing with that complexity. If you go to our website, backpackhealth.com, you can see animations about the reality of that. But I'm an advocate for those who need one, and I really believe that we have to give back. So I'm always happy to. The stuff I want to talk about, I hope, is common sense to everyone, and I hope honestly that you all say, yeah, this is all stuff we know, but and it's problems and solutions that my company Backpack can solve. But honestly, I'm not interested in making a sales pitch. If you're find value from it, then that's terrific. So we recognize that when you're given any type of diagnosis, but particularly a diagnosis in with a rare condition, it is terrifying. You have a massive flood of emotions that happen. You really, it's just so overwhelming. I understand that both from a clinician and from a family member who are watching my family members go through it. It's important that you take the time to have that shock value. It's important then that you get your feet back under you and you find someone who you truly trust to become your advocate and take them into your confidence. Share the information and share what you're feeling with them. And that just cannot be overstated. This is not something that you should ever be burdening yourself with entirely. If you don't have a trusted family member, find a friend, find someone who you can help be that advocate with you. You're going to need that as time goes on. When the most important communication you're going to be having, obviously enough, should be with your care provider. They are going to be very compassionate. There are an awful lot of wonderful physicians and nurses and physician's assistants who will be there and give you an amazing amount of information. But be sure that you take time to address what you may or may not understand. Don't assume that if you don't understand something, it will just come to you magically when you get home. Be very clear with them if you don't understand what they're talking to you about. Tell them what your concerns are. Tell them what you don't understand. As it says on the slide, they're here for you. They work for you. That's the physician or the nurse's job. Make sure you tell them what your goals are through your therapy and your treatment. Um, how's your quality of life? Can it be improved? How's your pain? How's your, mobility? Things like that. The more you communicate and the more you write things down and have that open dialogue, then you can do things like you can chart it, you can stay aware and keep these topics on the top of your dialogue with your care provider. Frequently, advanced directive paperwork will help to reduce your level of stress over time. So, what do I mean by advanced directives? These are living wills, things like do not resuscitate orders for chronic care patients. That those types of decisions that need to be made and are unfortunately frequently made at the very end of someone's life, if you can make some of that stuff ahead of time and store it somewhere where it's universally accessible, that will help you to have a level of calm. You'll know that some of that stuff is taken care of. By example, who do you want to take care of your pets while you're in treatment if you have to stay overnight? It's better to think about that ahead of time than when you find yourself sitting in a hospital room where you're going to be in for a few days. Also, if possible, think about your own metrics. What do I mean by metrics? I mean, if you're able to track your pain, your quality of life, that's what QOL means, your absenteeism, how many days are you out of work if you're able to work because of this condition? Those and other things are all significantly important for you to let your healthcare provider know about. Are you missing social engagements because of the impact of your new diagnosis? Write that stuff down, put it somewhere so that it will be available to you when you get to your doctor's appointment. Remember, regardless of how complicated your medical condition is, most of life happens in between those doctor visits. And that's something that we strive at Backpack to always make sure that we're there to provide tools so that people are able to, continue and really enjoy and, move forward in their life despite a complex diagnosis. Make sure you communicate with your healthcare provider what's unique about you and your situation. Make sure they are aware of your own unique personal or lifestyle limitations. What is your family situation? Do you live alone? Do you live with a full family? So you may have more help. Do you have many pets that you have to worry about? Or are you someone who just has plants? Are you of a cultural or community group that would mean you may have different types of traditions or society expectations? Are there ways that you may identify yourself that you would want to be treated in a specific way? That's your right to state that. It's certainly your right to have those beliefs, but make sure that you communicate that and that you write that somewhere and document that somewhere where it can be shared. That is all the types of information that needs to be kept somewhere and made available at times. In Backpack's environment, we use something called a share card, where you can download that and send it electronically to your doctor, or you can just email it to them, or just print it and leave a copy behind. And that's really important that you have that place and you think of this as not just you absorbing information from your care provider, but that you are an advocate, or your trusted family member or friend can be an advocate for you. Again, ask your family and friends. Ask your doctor or the nurse. Frequently, nurses are almost better sources for you, for a good place to direct your family members and or friends to learn about your condition, because you're going to get tired of telling. It's important, though, that those people close to you in your life really have an understanding so that they can best care for you, best support you, or perhaps just not add to your burden. Be sure to tell others what your expectations are, your wishes and goals for your treatment and your condition. This, I think, is the most surprising one, which is to encourage your loved ones to cross-check and contribute to your health information when you are unable. When we were starting Backpack Health, we took a group of very experienced healthcare entrepreneurs, physicians, and I had all of my leadership team write their medical history down. And we all thought we were pretty smart about writing it all down and having a great deal of detail. And then I asked them all to share it with their husband or wife. And it was amazing how much was found, even in my own case, where this is my industry. I have forgotten significant things that my wife had remembered. And that was things that were important to my medical history. And then I asked them to not just share it with their husband or wife, but with their parent, if their parent was still alive, or if they had adult children. And they did that, and we realized that there were even more things that we had forgotten. So that's okay to ask those questions, and it all adds up to who you are and what your overall picture is, and it will help you be a better advocate for yourself. Also, and this is critically important, make sure your family or your friend circle knows your points of access to healthcare. What hospital do you go to? Where's your doctor? What are the secondary facilities you may go to if you have to go to places, say, out of state or out of your home city? That's important. They'll know if you're traveling, they'll know where to expect you, where you may be going, or maybe you need a ride somewhere. So don't ever hesitate to keep that information, um, you know, as something that you can share. Your family remembers this stuff. They also really, really care. My own clinical background is in emergency medicine. Um, so we built a lot of functions within Backpack so that we can provide care on someone's healthcare information at the moment when they need it most and may not be able to speak for themselves. Backpack comes with what we call our emergency share card, which is indicated in red. This is something that you develop and you put all of your information, including your contact information and that of loved ones in here. Um, we need to think of this emergency type of information being available for a physician or an emergency room trip. It may be something where it goes to emergency responders like a firefighter, an EMT, police department. You might be asking a trusted neighbor to maintain a copy of the information for you. In Backpack World, we do it all electronically in case you are unable to speak for yourself. Or you could share it with a traveling companion if you were traveling and have them speak for you if necessary. But being aware of how to especially with rare and complex disorders, um, being able to communicate that to emergency providers is critically important. Consider strongly medical jewelry. We work with a company called Sticky J, and we embed into the Sticky J bracelets or necklace jewelry the unique URL of your medical information record. This way, if you can't speak for yourself, you are able to have your information accessed by an emergency care provider. In our instance, working with Backpack, we are multilingual, so that works anywhere in the world. We have 5 languages right now. We're adding 2 more this year. We just recently heard a story about a woman who was a Backpack user who was transiting through the Lisbon, Portugal airport. She's an English-speaking woman from the United States. She doesn't speak Portuguese. She collapsed. The fire department in the airport was able to identify her bracelet. They looked her up through her backpack. It opened automatically in Portuguese because Backpack knew where it was being accessed from. And they knew how to treat her because they could see, but she had a condition called POTS as an association of Ehlers-Danlos. And she was treated appropriately and well and managed to have a very positive experience. If that was not if that information wasn't transferred, it could have been a very different outcome for her. If you're comfortable, share limited information with a traveling companion. That's very important. Then they can always be keeping an eye out for you and be aware that you may have complexities. Think about the worst case scenario. Recently, we've had some big storms hit the United States. We've been very active in helping people prepare ahead of time. If you live in a place where your hospital may be impacted by a hurricane or a storm of some sort or a wildfire, it's nice to have everything with you so that if you have to relocate because of an evacuation, that your records go with you. A system like how Backpack works, where everything is kept in a device or up in the cloud, means that it's accessible anywhere in the world. It's certainly a better solution than just carrying around your medical records in a binder. We are a mobile society. Our culture is one that is becoming more and more multicultural and multilingual. We have a lot of people who live in the United States who don't speak English as a primary language. So we felt it very important that Backpack deal and work equally well in many languages. As I said, right now we have 5. We let the technology do the work. You can enter information in, you can store it. You see there's all kinds of summaries here. But having information cloud-based is a much better solution than having it in a binder for you where you could lose the binder. It's only a single copy. It's probably only in one language. And invariably, it won't be the information you want. I have to recommend strongly that people not use flash drives, the little thumb drives that people have that they use for computer data storage backup, because that's assuming that a hospital is going to let you put your unsecured, unknown to them thumb drive into one of the hospital computers in order to download information. And at least the two hospitals that I was senior staff in, that would never be allowed. In fact, we disabled those as part of the networking of the hospital. So it's a very problematic way to move your information with you, whereas something that can be accessed through an internet browser is a much more reliable access point. If you do travel outside the country, having something for yourself, if you know the language of the nation, the countries you'll be in, terrific, and you can have simple things identified if necessary in the local language. Otherwise, you can use a tool like Backpack that will provide those translations for you on the fly. Your everyday health is important. Make sure that if you do select some type of technology system, that it's universal. You don't want to have to re-enter your entire history and all of your documents if you decide to change from a Mac iOS environment to, say, an Android phone, or if you decide to use it on a computer rather than on your phone. Look for something that has all these different capacities already built in. Also look for a solution that helps you to not just manage your own information, but is it possible to have more, have all your family members, as we've embraced, that you can have as many dependents, you can have as many children. You can even have, if you're caring for elderly parents, you can have that. You can link yours to your partners as you define your family. And that's really sort of the story is our healthcare is very complicated. As your rare or unique diagnosis develops, you will get overwhelmed with data. Keep your effort at collecting it, keeping it all in one place, and finding solutions so that when it comes time for you to interact with that care provider or those multiple care providers, that you have the ability to remember what it was that may have happened in between those visits. Because there's one thing I want to leave you with is, lots of life happens in between those office visits to your doctor. Write it down, keep it someplace where you can share it. That's how you'll be the most active and the most of an advocate for yourself and your care. So that is the end of my brief presentation. I see one question, but please, if you have others, please jump in. Eden, I assume you're referring to care protocols around rare conditions. If that's what your protocol is that you're referring to, is yes, we can tailor the emergency share card so that it is functionally a tool to help educate an emergency responder somewhere into what the disease how it needs to be managed. So yes, we're familiar with that. We are deploying that as we speak for Marfan syndrome and for
Okay, cool.
adrenaline
Yeah,
deficiency.
that was our question about AI, because our daughter Cameron has she has a pan hyperpituitarism with secondary, and we carry around an emergency injection that's all you can. But
I'm having a really hard time hearing
sorry,
you.
didn't have the mic closer to my mouth.
Didn't have the mic closer.
Yeah, Cambria has AI. We carry around an emergency injection. But here in Kansas City area, if you live in Johnson County, we had to go get special protocols because if you were in an accident or something incapacitated, they wouldn't give the injection for a while.
Correct. So this happens a lot. I actually just had this happen in my family over the summertime, where my niece, Maggie, who is the inspiration for the company, had spontaneous pneumothorax occur while she was at her performing arts camp. And so the nurse accessed Maggie's records through Backpack. They summoned the paramedics and the ambulance. The paramedics weren't familiar with her condition, which was Marfan syndrome. They started assuming that this 12-year-old girl was having a cardiac event. Family members were able to intervene before they did anything. They were very well meaning, but the treatment to solve a cardiac event in an adult with a child having a pneumothorax, where there's a risk of an aortic dissection, would have simply exacerbated and made her experience much more critically dangerous. So we were happy that we were able to intervene. It's a story we hear over and over as we partner with the rare disease community. And it's something that we are very much aware of. We really want to help make sure that we aren't just storing information, but that we're being both that advocate and that we're providing a voice for the time when someone may or may not be able to. Stacy, thank you for your question. Yes, you can pull down information directly from your health portal. You can do that because Backpack is completely controlled by you, or if you're a minor, by your guardian. We are not affiliated officially with any hospital record systems. We believe this is about patient empowerment. You can download, we have thousands, tens of thousands of medical records loaded into the system now. Later this year, we will be announcing that we are able to completely digitally download your record as long as you consent and give us the right logins. And then we'll keep going back and pulling it down each time you have a doctor's visit. So we are working on that. The other thing I should add is we are in the process of making Backpack Health free to all consumers because of the success we've had with medical foundations and with drug companies working with us to do research in different communities. We are really deciding that this is more important to get this out. We have great partnerships we're developing. So right now we have two levels that you can see: basic, which is free, and then pro, which is $10 a year essentially for a whole family, and allow some additional features. The whole thing is going to be pro. It'll probably take us 2 weeks or so to get everything cut over, but we're excited about being able to offer that to the community. You're welcome. Any other questions? There's a few of my colleagues from Backpack who are manning the virtual booth. I would encourage you to please go back into the exhibit hall, stop over. I think Rob Goldman is there. I think Rob Medina is there. Might be Michael Shapiro Barr. They're all great people who are absolutely dedicated to this space and have lots of experience. They'd love to answer questions or communicate in any way. You have my email there on the screen in front of you. I really sincerely mean it. If you have questions, if I can help with anything, if you would have suggestions for ways we can improve how Backpack works to serve your community, let us know. With that, thank you all very much. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, Jim. Thank everyone. We really appreciate it.